She sat in the back during the mission briefing. Eyes down, notebook open, barely noticed. Officers moved fast, discussing timelines, maps, exit strategies. No one expected her to speak. But as they wrapped up, she raised her hand and asked one question, a quiet, precise question about a blind spot in their route. Silence followed. Then radios clicked, markers hit white bars, and the entire plan shifted. Her observation? It prevented a full-scale ambush. The soldier they nearly missed caught what no one else did. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If you enjoy stories about quiet heroes whose careful observations save lives and change everything, consider subscribing for more content that explores how the most important insights often come from those who listen before they speak. The harsh overhead lighting in Conference Room Alpha cast long shadows across topographical maps and intelligence reports as Specialist Second Class Rebecca Chen arranged her surveying equipment and field notes at a small table near the rear wall. At 1800 hours, the final mission briefing for Operation Desert Storm was about to commence, with senior officers and mission planners filling the room that would determine the fate of a critical reconnaissance operation deep behind enemy lines that could provide intelligence essential to the success of larger strategic objectives. Chun moved with quiet efficiency, her cartography materials and terrain analysis reports organized with the precision that had made her invaluable to the intelligence section. Though her role in the evening's briefing was expected to be purely observational rather than participatory in the strategic planning that would guide the most dangerous mission conducted by the unit in the past 18 months. The briefing room itself reflected the urgency and complexity of modern military operations conducted in hostile territory, where intelligence superiority could mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. Multiple wall-mounted displays showing satellite imagery updated within the past 6 hours. Communication equipment linking to command centers hundreds of miles away that coordinated operations across multiple theaters, and detailed tactical maps covering every aspect of the operational area, including topographical features, enemy positions, and potential hazards that could affect mission success. The accumulated intelligence represented weeks of preparation, surveillance, and strategic planning involving multiple agencies and specialized units that would guide a mission critical to understanding enemy positions and capabilities in a region where conventional intelligence gathering had proven inadequate due to sophisticated enemy countermeasures and the challenging terrain that limited traditional reconnaissance methods. Major William Harrison, the operation commander with 15 years of experience in special operations, including multiple tours in hostile environments, called the briefing to order as officers settled into their assigned seats around the conference table that had been used for planning some of the most sensitive military operations conducted in the region. Gentlemen, tonight's mission requires flawless execution and precise coordination. We'll be inserting a 6-man reconnaissance team into hostile territory to gather intelligence on enemy positions and supply routes that conventional surveillance has been unable to penetrate due to sophisticated countermeasures and terrain limitations. Chun opened her notebook and prepared to document any geographical or terrain-related information that might be relevant to post-mission analysis and future operations in the same area, though her presence at the briefing was primarily to provide technical support for any questions about topographical features or mapping accuracy that might arise during the planning discussion. Her expertise in cartography and terrain analysis had made her a valuable resource for mission planning, but her junior rank and support role meant that she was not expected to contribute to strategic discussions unless specifically asked to clarify technical details about geographical features that might affect mission planning or execution. Lieutenant Colonel Sandra Rodriguez, the intelligence officer responsible for overall mission planning and coordination with higher command elements, activated the main display showing detailed satellite imagery of the operational area that had been gathered using multiple intelligence platforms over the past 2 weeks. Intelligence indicates significant enemy presence in sectors 7 through 12, with heavy patrol activity along the primary access routes we initially considered for insertion and extraction operations. The imagery revealed a complex terrain of rocky hills, sparse vegetation, and scattered structures that provided both opportunities for concealment and challenges for navigation in darkness, when the mission would be conducted to minimize detection by enemy forces equipped with sophisticated surveillance equipment. The area had been selected for reconnaissance because conventional surveillance methods, including satellite imagery and electronic intelligence gathering, had been unable to provide detailed information about enemy activities and defensive positions that were concealed by natural terrain features and deliberate camouflage efforts. Captain James Mitchell, the team leader who would be conducting the actual reconnaissance mission along with 5 experienced special operations personnel, studied the displays with the intensity of someone whose life would depend on the accuracy of the information being presented and the thoroughness of the planning that would guide every aspect of the mission from insertion through extraction and return to friendly territory. What about extraction routes? We need multiple options in case primary extraction becomes compromised by enemy action or changes in the tactical situation. Rodriguez highlighted several possible extraction points on the map, each selected based on accessibility for helicopter operations, defensibility against enemy interference, and proximity to friendly forces that could provide support if the mission encountered complications that required immediate assistance or emergency evacuation under hostile conditions. We've identified 3 primary extraction points, each with different risk factors and logistical requirements that provide flexibility for mission completion under various scenarios. Captain David Thompson, the communications specialist responsible for maintaining contact with the reconnaissance team throughout the mission and coordinating with supporting elements, including aviation assets and quick reaction forces, leaned forward to examine the terrain features that might affect radio transmission and satellite communication capabilities that were essential for mission success. Communication windows will be limited by the mountainous terrain in sectors 9 and 10. We'll need to establish relay points to maintain contact during critical phases of the operation. As the discussion continued, Chen listened carefully while reviewing her detailed topographical analysis of the operational area that she had developed through weeks of meticulous study combining satellite imagery, geological surveys, historical maps, and meteorological data to create a comprehensive understanding of terrain features that might not be visible in standard reconnaissance photography but could significantly impact mission success or failure. Her work had involved cross-referencing multiple data sources to identify potential hazards, concealment opportunities, and navigation challenges that conventional mission planning might overlook in the rush to develop operational plans within compressed timeframes that characterize special operations planning. The planning discussion followed established military protocols, with each specialist contributing expertise from their area of responsibility, while the mission commander synthesized the various inputs into a coherent operational plan that balanced mission objectives with acceptable risk levels. However, Chen noticed that the focus on major terrain features and obvious tactical considerations was missing some subtler aspects of the geography that her detailed analysis had revealed through patient study of historical patterns and seasonal variations that could affect conditions during the planned mission timeframe. Major Harrison addressed the insertion methodology that would get the reconnaissance team into the operational area without detection by enemy forces equipped with sophisticated surveillance equipment and patrol schedules that had been developed to counter exactly the kind of reconnaissance mission being planned. Helicopter insertion at LZ Alpha, followed by overland movement to observation points. Total mission duration 48 hours maximum. The insertion plan relied on the team's ability to move undetected through terrain that provided limited concealment opportunities during daylight hours when enemy surveillance would be most effective. Success would depend on precise timing, careful route selection based on detailed terrain analysis, and thorough understanding of enemy patrol patterns that intelligence had identified through surveillance operations conducted over the past month using multiple collection methods. Lieutenant Sarah Kim, the medical officer assigned to provide emergency support if the mission required medical evacuation due to combat injuries or accidents that could occur during operations in challenging terrain, reviewed the medical contingency plans that would be implemented if team members were injured during the operation. Medical evacuation procedures are established for each extraction point, with emergency medical teams standing by at forward operating bases. Chen's attention was drawn to a discrepancy she had noticed between the current satellite imagery being used for mission planning and historical maps of the same area that she had studied during her detailed terrain analysis. The discrepancy involved what appeared to be a seasonal water feature that might not be visible in current satellite photography, but could significantly impact route planning and extraction procedures if it became active during the mission timeframe due to weather conditions that were predicted for the operational period. Staff Sergeant Michael Brown, the weapons specialist responsible for ensuring the reconnaissance team had appropriate equipment for the mission while maintaining the mobility and stealth requirements that were essential for successful penetration of enemy territory, discussed the armament and equipment loadout that would balance operational capability with the need to remain undetected during the reconnaissance operation. Light weapons only, with emphasis on observation equipment and communication gear necessary for intelligence collection. The equipment selection reflected the mission's intelligence-gathering purpose rather than combat operations, but Brown's planning included contingency weapons and defensive equipment that would allow the team to fight their way out if the reconnaissance mission was discovered by enemy forces during the critical intelligence-gathering phase that represented the primary mission objective. As the briefing progressed through technical details and contingency planning that covered every aspect of the mission from insertion through intelligence collection to extraction and debriefing, Chun continued to compare the information being presented with her own analysis of the terrain features and geographical characteristics that might affect mission success. Her concern about the seasonal water feature was growing as she realized its potential impact on the planned routes, particularly the primary extraction route that appeared to pass directly through an area that could become impassable if her analysis of seasonal patterns was correct. Major Harrison reviewed the timeline for the operation, from insertion through reconnaissance activities to extraction and return to base, ensuring that every phase of the mission was coordinated with supporting elements, and that contingency plans were in place for various scenarios that might require modifications to the original plan. Questions or concerns before we finalize the operational plan and begin mission preparation? Chun hesitated, recognizing that protocol suggested junior personnel should speak only when directly asked for technical clarification, and her presence at the briefing was primarily in a support capacity rather than as a mission planner with authority to influence strategic decisions that could affect the lives of the reconnaissance team members. However, the discrepancy she had identified could significantly impact mission safety and success, potentially putting the entire team at risk if the seasonal water feature became active during the extraction phase of the operation. The room fell silent as officers waited for any final questions or concerns before proceeding with mission preparation and equipment check procedures that would consume the remaining hours before the operation commenced under cover of darkness. The silence stretched for several seconds as Chun wrestled with the decision to speak up about her concerns or remain silent and hoped that her analysis was incorrect or that the seasonal patterns she had identified would not affect the mission during the planned time frame. "Sir," Chin said quietly, raising her hand with the diffidence of someone unaccustomed to speaking in high-level planning meetings where her voice might be the only one questioning established plans developed by experienced officers with years of operational experience. "I have a question about the extraction route through Sector 9. Every head in the room turned toward Chun, with expressions ranging from surprise to mild impatience that the technical briefing was being delayed by questions from support personnel whose role was expected to be passive observation rather than active participation in strategic planning discussions. Major Harrison's expression was neutral but attentive, recognizing that Chin's expertise in terrain analysis might be relevant to mission planning even though her junior rank and support role had not included her in the development of the operational plan. "What's your concern, Specialist?" Harrison asked, his tone professional but indicating that he expected a brief, specific question about technical details rather than broader strategic concerns that might require significant modifications to established plans that had been developed through extensive coordination with multiple command elements. Chin stood and moved to the map display, activating her tablet which contained the detailed terrain analysis she had been developing through weeks of meticulous research that combined multiple data sources to create a comprehensive understanding of geographical factors that might affect military operations in the target area. "Sir, I've been studying historical maps and geological surveys of this area, and there's a seasonal drainage that doesn't appear on current satellite imagery, but could significantly impact the planned extraction route." She highlighted the area of concern on the main display, overlaying her historical analysis with the current satellite imagery being used for mission planning to show the discrepancy that had captured her attention during her detailed study of the terrain features. This drainage becomes active during certain weather conditions and could be impassable when the extraction is scheduled, potentially trapping the reconnaissance team in enemy territory without viable escape routes. The revelation immediately captured the attention of every officer in the room, as the implications became clear. If Chen's analysis was correct, the primary extraction route could be compromised by terrain features that weren't visible in current intelligence, but could prevent successful mission completion and potentially result in the loss of the entire reconnaissance team if they became trapped in enemy territory without alternative escape routes. Lieutenant Colonel Rodriguez studied Chen's overlay with growing concern, recognizing that the discrepancy represented a significant gap in intelligence preparation that could endanger the entire mission and potentially compromise the safety of the reconnaissance team members who would be operating in hostile territory with limited support options. How confident are you in this analysis, specialist? Very confident, ma'am. I've cross-referenced geological surveys, historical flood records, and seasonal precipitation data for this region covering the past 15 years. The drainage has been active during similar weather conditions consistently, and current meteorological forecasts suggest a high probability of activation during the planned mission timeframe. Captain Mitchell examined Chen's analysis more closely, realizing that the terrain feature she had identified would indeed make the planned extraction route impassable if it became active during the mission timeframe, potentially stranding the reconnaissance team in enemy territory without viable escape options. What's the probability that this drainage will be active during our extraction window? Chen consulted her weather analysis and historical data that she had compiled through extensive research into seasonal patterns and meteorological conditions that affected the operational area. Based on current weather patterns and seasonal precipitation forecasts, approximately 70% probability that the drainage will be active during the planned extraction timeframe. The room fell silent as the implications sank in with full force. The primary extraction route had a 70% probability of being impassable, and no alternative routes had been planned because the drainage feature hadn't been identified in conventional intelligence preparation that relied primarily on current satellite imagery rather than historical analysis of seasonal patterns that could affect terrain conditions during specific time frames. Major Harrison recognized the severity of the situation and the potential consequences for mission success and team safety. Specialist Chun, do you see alternative routes that would avoid this seasonal drainage and provide viable extraction options? Chen had anticipated this question and was prepared with detailed alternative analysis that she had developed as part of her comprehensive study of the operational area. Yes, sir. There are 2 alternative routes that avoid the seasonal drainage, but they would require different extraction points and modified timing for the overall mission to accommodate the changed logistics. She activated additional displays showing the alternative routes she had identified through her terrain analysis, each with different characteristics and risk factors that would need to be considered in revising the operational plan. Route Alpha 2 follows the ridge line and provides better concealment, but requires an additional 6 hours for completion. Route Bravo 3 uses the valley approach and maintains the original timeline, but increases exposure to enemy observation during critical phases of the extraction. Captain Thompson studied the alternative routes from a communications perspective, recognizing that different extraction points would require modifications to the communication plan and relay procedures that were essential for maintaining contact with the reconnaissance team throughout the mission. How would these route changes affect our communication windows and relay procedures? Chen had considered this question during her analysis and was prepared with detailed assessments of communication implications for each alternative route. Route Alpha 2 actually improves communication reliability by providing higher elevation for radio transmission and better line of sight to relay stations. Route Bravo 3 maintains acceptable communication but with shorter transmission windows due to terrain masking that could limit contact during critical mission phases. Lieutenant Kim examined the medical implications of the route changes, recognizing that different extraction points might affect medical evacuation procedures if the mission encountered casualties that required immediate medical attention and emergency evacuation under hostile conditions. medical evacuation capabilities for these alternative extraction points. Both alternative routes terminate at extraction points that are accessible for medical evacuation, Chen confirmed, having researched the medical logistics implications of each option. Route Alpha 2 provides better helicopter access for emergency medical evacuation, while Route Bravo 3 requires ground vehicle evacuation but offers faster access to medical facilities once extraction is completed. Staff Sergeant Brown considered the weapons and equipment implications of the route changes, recognizing that different terrain and mission duration might require modifications to the equipment loadout that had been carefully calculated to balance operational capability with mobility requirements. Any equipment modifications required for these alternative routes? Chen consulted her analysis of terrain requirements and mission parameters for each alternative route. Route Alpha 2 requires additional water and cold weather gear due to higher elevation and extended mission duration. Route Bravo 3 maintains current equipment requirements, but would benefit from additional camouflage materials due to increased exposure during certain phases of the extraction. Major Harrison weighed the alternatives presented by Chen's analysis, recognizing that her identification of the seasonal drainage had revealed a critical flaw in the original mission planning that could have resulted in mission failure or loss of personnel if the reconnaissance team had attempted extraction through an impassable route. Specialist Chen, which route do you recommend based on your analysis? Chen had prepared for this question, though she was reluctant to make strategic recommendations beyond her technical expertise in terrain analysis, recognizing that strategic decisions involve factors beyond geographical considerations. Sir, based purely on terrain considerations and mission safety, Route Alpha 2 provides the best combination of safety and mission success probability, despite the extended timeline and additional resource requirements. Rodriguez reviewed Chen's complete analysis, recognizing the thoroughness and professional competence that had identified a critical intelligence gap that conventional mission planning had missed due to reliance on current imagery rather than comprehensive historical analysis. Specialist, this analysis should have been part of our initial intelligence preparation. How did our standard procedures miss this drainage feature? Chun answered diplomatically, recognizing that she was being asked to critique established intelligence procedures without offending the officers responsible for those procedures or suggesting incompetence in the planning process. Ma'am, current satellite imagery doesn't show the drainage because it's dry under current conditions. The feature only becomes visible through historical analysis and seasonal weather correlation that requires specialized research beyond standard intelligence preparation timelines. The explanation highlighted a limitation in conventional intelligence preparation that relied primarily on current observation rather than historical analysis, and seasonal pattern recognition that required specialized knowledge and extended research beyond standard procedures that were designed for rapid mission planning under operational pressures. Mitchell understood the implications of Chen's discovery for mission safety and success, recognizing that the alternative routes she had identified could mean the difference between successful mission completion and potential disaster. Major, I recommend we modify the mission plan to use Route Alpha 2. The extended timeline is acceptable if it significantly improves our probability of successful extraction and team safety. Harrison made the decision quickly, recognizing that Chen's analysis had prevented what could have been a catastrophic mission failure with potential loss of the entire reconnaissance team. Agreed. We'll implement Route Alpha 2 with the modifications Specialist Chun has identified. I want her analysis incorporated into all future mission planning for this operational area. The briefing continued for another hour as officers revised mission parameters to incorporate Chen's recommendations, with communication plans modified, equipment loads adjusted, and timing revised to accommodate the alternative extraction route that Chen's analysis had revealed as necessary for mission success. The revision process required coordination with supporting elements and approval from higher command, but the thoroughness of Chen's analysis provided the foundation for rapid implementation of the necessary changes. As the briefing concluded and officers dispersed to implement the revised mission plan, Major Harrison approached Chen privately to acknowledge her contribution to mission planning and its implications for future operations in the theater. The conversation would mark a turning point in Chen's military career and establish her reputation as an exceptional intelligence analyst whose contributions could be critical to mission success. Specialist Chun, your analysis probably saved this mission and possibly saved lives. How long have you been conducting this kind of detailed terrain study that goes beyond standard intelligence preparation? Chun was modest in her response, recognizing that her contribution had been the result of thorough preparation and professional dedication rather than exceptional insight or special capabilities beyond her training. Sir, it's part of my regular duties as a cartography specialist. I believe thorough terrain analysis requires understanding historical patterns as well as current conditions, especially for operations in areas where seasonal variations could affect mission success. Harrison studied Chun with new appreciation for the specialized expertise she had demonstrated and its potential applications to other challenging intelligence problems facing the command. Specialist, I want you assigned as primary terrain analyst for all future special operations in this theater. Your methodology clearly produces insights that standard intelligence preparation misses, and we need to incorporate this level of analysis into our planning procedures. The assignment represented a significant advancement in Chin's military career and recognition that her specialized knowledge and analytical approach could contribute to mission success in ways that hadn't been previously recognized by command structure focused on conventional military specialties and established intelligence procedures. 3 days later, the reconnaissance mission was completed successfully using Route Alpha 2 that Chun had recommended, with the team gathering critical intelligence without detection and extracting safely through the route that Chin's analysis had identified as optimal for mission success. The mission's success validated Chin's analysis and demonstrated the value of comprehensive terrain study that went beyond conventional intelligence preparation to include historical research and seasonal pattern analysis. The mission's success led to a formal review of intelligence preparation procedures and incorporation of historical terrain analysis into standard operating procedures for special operations planning throughout the theater command. Chin's methodology would be adopted as a model for comprehensive terrain analysis and taught to intelligence specialists responsible for mission planning in complex terrain environments where conventional intelligence methods might miss critical factors. 6 months later, Specialist Chun would be promoted to sergeant and assigned as senior terrain analyst for the regional command, where her expertise in historical geographical analysis and seasonal pattern recognition would be applied to some of the most challenging intelligence problems facing military operations in difficult terrain environments throughout multiple theaters of operation. But she would always remember the evening when a quiet question about a blind spot in the extraction route led to complete revision of a critical mission plan and demonstrated that careful preparation and attention to detail could mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure that could have cost the lives of the entire reconnaissance team. The specialist who had been invited to observe the briefing had instead provided the critical analysis that saved the mission, proving that expertise and thorough preparation could transform potential disaster into operational success through the power of careful observation and professional competence applied to complex military challenges that required innovative thinking and comprehensive analysis. Chin's success would inspire changes in how military intelligence approached terrain analysis and mission planning, emphasizing the importance of historical research and seasonal pattern analysis in understanding geographical factors that could affect mission success. Her example would demonstrate the value of including specialized expertise in mission planning, even when that expertise came from junior personnel whose knowledge might not fit conventional expectations about military decision-making hierarchy, but whose contributions could be essential to mission success. The quiet specialist who had asked one precise question had changed everything, proving that the most important military victories are sometimes won not through conventional tactics, but through careful preparation and the courage to speak up when professional expertise reveals critical information that could save lives and ensure mission success in the face of challenges that conventional planning might overlook. The aftermath of the successful mission would have far-reaching implications for Chin's career and for military intelligence procedures throughout the theater of operations. Her methodology of combining current satellite imagery with historical maps, geological surveys, and seasonal weather patterns would be formally adopted as standard practice for special operations planning, preventing similar oversights that could have resulted in mission failures or loss of personnel in future operations. Within 2 weeks of the mission's completion, Chen received orders transferring her to the Theater Intelligence Center, where her specialized expertise would be applied to the most challenging terrain analysis problems facing military operations throughout the region. The transfer represented not just career advancement, but recognition that her unique analytical approach had identified capabilities that could contribute significantly to mission success across multiple operational areas. Colonel Maria Santos, the Theater Intelligence Director, personally briefed Chun on her new responsibilities during a meeting that highlighted the strategic importance of her contributions to military intelligence capabilities. Specialist Chun, your analysis prevented what could have been a catastrophic mission failure. More importantly, your methodology has revealed gaps in our intelligence preparation that we need to address systematically across all special operations planning. Chen was assigned to lead a team of analysts responsible for developing comprehensive terrain analysis protocols that would incorporate historical research and seasonal pattern recognition into standard intelligence preparation procedures. The assignment would require her to train experienced analysts in methodologies that went beyond conventional intelligence gathering to include the kind of detailed historical research that had enabled her to identify the seasonal drainage that conventional analysis had missed. The training program Chen developed would become a model for military intelligence schools throughout the armed forces, teaching analysts to look beyond current conditions to understand historical patterns that could affect mission success. Her approach emphasized the importance of multiple data sources, cross-referencing different types of information, and understanding the limitations of relying solely on current imagery for terrain analysis in areas where seasonal or weather-related changes could significantly impact operational conditions. 6 months after the original mission briefing, Chun was promoted to staff sergeant and assigned as the senior terrain analyst for a special operations task force responsible for some of the most sensitive reconnaissance missions conducted in the theater. Her role involved not only analyzing terrain for specific missions, but also developing innovative analytical techniques that could be applied to intelligence challenges that conventional methods had been unable to solve. The recognition of Chen's contributions extended beyond her immediate unit to influence military intelligence training and procedures throughout the armed forces. Her case study was incorporated into the curriculum at the Military Intelligence School, where future analysts learned about the importance of comprehensive research and the courage to speak up when professional expertise revealed critical information that might challenge established plans or assumptions. But perhaps the most significant impact of Chen's contributions was the cultural change that occurred within the intelligence community regarding the value of junior personnel and unconventional approaches to complex problems. Her success demonstrated that critical insights could come from any level of the military hierarchy and that effective intelligence analysis required diverse perspectives and methodologies that might not conform to traditional approaches but could reveal information that conventional methods missed. The mission that had nearly proceeded with a fatally flawed extraction route became a landmark case in military planning, studied by officers and analysts as an example of how careful preparation, attention to detail, and professional courage could prevent disaster and ensure mission success. Chen's quiet question about a blind spot in the route had revealed a critical intelligence gap that could have cost lives and compromised mission objectives. Years later, as Chun continued her military career with increasing responsibilities and recognition for her expertise in terrain analysis and intelligence preparation, she would always remember the evening when she had to decide whether to speak up in a room full of senior officers or remain silent and hope that her concerns were unfounded. The decision to raise her hand and ask one quiet, precise question had not only saved a mission, but had also established principles of thorough preparation and professional courage that would influence military intelligence for generations. The specialist who had been invited to observe had instead provided the critical analysis that changed everything, proving that the most important contributions to military success often come from those who combine technical expertise with careful preparation and the courage to challenge established assumptions when professional knowledge reveals potential problems that others might have overlooked. Chen's story would inspire countless other junior military personnel to speak up when their expertise revealed critical information, regardless of their rank or role in the military hierarchy. Her example demonstrated that effective military operations required not just adherence to established procedures, but also the intellectual courage to question those procedures when professional knowledge suggested that modifications might be necessary for mission success and personnel safety. The transformation of Chin's career from silent observer to recognized expert in terrain analysis reflected broader changes in military culture that increasingly valued diverse perspectives and innovative approaches to complex challenges. Her success proved that the most effective military organizations were those that encouraged contributions from all levels of the hierarchy and recognized that critical insights could come from unexpected sources when proper preparation met professional opportunity. The evening briefing that had nearly concluded with a potentially fatal oversight instead became a turning point in military intelligence procedures, demonstrating that even the most carefully planned operations could benefit from additional perspectives and that the price of overlooking critical information could be measured in mission failure and loss of life. Chen's legacy would extend far beyond her individual career to influence how military organizations approached intelligence analysis, mission planning, and the integration of diverse expertise into critical decision-making processes. Her quiet question had not only revealed a hidden escape route, but had also opened pathways for future military personnel to contribute their expertise to mission success regardless of their formal role or rank within the military structure. The soldier they had nearly missed had indeed caught what no one else did, proving that the most important military capabilities often resided not in rank or position, but in the combination of technical expertise, careful preparation, and professional courage that enabled individuals to speak truth to power when lives and mission success hung in the balance.